What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Jericho Report Weekly News Briefing. It is Saturday, April the 26th, 2014. As always, first link below is going to take you to the Blogspot. That's where you can find all these links I'm about to give you. What another week of madness. Let's start off with this. Had a little bit of a scare yesterday. Virgin hijack scare. Drunk passenger arrested trying to get into the cockpit. In this day and age, are you serious? You're lucky you're not dead. Put a link to this. Meanwhile, we got this from Hawaii News Now. We had the jet stowaway undetected for hours before departure. All these years after 9/11 and all this stuff that's supposedly been done for our security, and it's easy as jumping over a fence and crawling into a wheel well of a plane. That kid's lucky to be alive. I'll put a link to the story if you're not aware of it. Other news, tiny Wyoming town evacuated after explosion of natural gas plant. This was 2 days ago from NBC. Be advised, put a link to this from The Blaze. It's not a dare, it's a promise. Governor Rick Perry warns feds over concerns of new land grab in Texas. Put a link to this. Yes, I saw the supposed racist comments by Bundy. I'm not even going to link that because, you know, an intelligent person can look at the context in which he made those comments and know they're not racist. Probably wasn't the smartest comparison to make, given his spotlight, but it is what it is. From USA Today, crowds flock to 420 convention in Denver. Put a link to this right on 420. Go Colorado. We Are Change has this. Alaska pot legislation campaign will donate to its opponents if they can prove alcohol is less harmful than pot. Right on. I agree. How many people get drunk driving off of pot and go slam their car and kill people? I don't know. Anyway, we got more news. Obama uses Easter address to remind us that Islam teaches us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. This from the Gateway Pundit. Put a link to it. Meanwhile, Obama is on another trip. Apparently he's eating sushi and whatnot. I don't know. Eat the seafood, please. We got this. Speaking of what a dirtbag Obama is, amid politics, Obama drifted away from Ken. Apparently he skipped his aunt's funeral to go play golf. I'll put a link to the story. From the New York Times. From Hawaii News Now, we got Crawford calls 96,000 pounds of Oscar Mayer wieners. Wiener doom. Meanwhile, we got banana doom as well. Fungus threatens banana supply. This come out 5 days ago from NBC News. Be advised. From WIVP4, pizza delivery man opens fire to fend off attackers. I believe this was in Buffalo, New York. Right on. Good thing you had a gun, huh? Put a link to it. Meanwhile, powdered alcohol. Powdered alcohol is coming to the United States. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'll put a link to it. Speaking of drunk people, Jeb Bush, I'm thinking about running for president. Well, why not? Put a link to it. It's not like we're going to have a say who the next president's going to be anyway. Meanwhile, a final visit. Veterans languish and die on VA hospital's secret list. We're so great to our veterans in this country, aren't we? Check this article out from CNN Health. Got another one here. Man dies jumping from Long Branch radio tower. Authorities say, I believe this was in New Jersey. I believe he got stuck in a building on his way down. Put a link to it. Tragic story here from HLN. Doing you a favor, YouTuber farewell followed by suicide. Apparently a 16-year-old girl has committed suicide after posting a suicide note on YouTube. Tragic story. But hey, you know, I've got people last week leaving comments saying, why don't you give us some more good news? I do have a couple happy-go-lucky stories for you. Funniest text between parents and their children ever sent. This one will crack you up if you need a break from the doom and gloom. Got another one here. Man attempts to hug wild lion. What happens next? Stun me. Another feel-good story. If you need one, check it out. Some pretty nice pics there. Check out the one of him hugging the lion. Right on. Some good news for you this week, people who were asking for good news. Anyway, over to financial news. How the Dow Jones Industrial Average did on Friday. Dow was down 149. For the week, it was down 47 points. Pretty flat week for the Dow. Put a link to that. Obama calls for highest sustained taxation in U.S. history. Go figure, right? That's from CNS News on April 21st. Put a link to that. New York Post has this. Average credit card interest is up to a shocking 21%. Glad I don't have credit cards anymore. Put a link to this for those of you who do might be advised of that. Oklahoma to charge privilege tax for going off the grid. I think I've reported on this before. Here's another article on it. Yes, if you want to have a windmill or you want to do solar power, you want to do your own thing, you're going to have to pay a tax. Oklahoma's governor has quietly passed a bill with devastating consequences for young people. I believe this is the getting rid of the minimum wage requirement. Put a link to it. Be advised if you're in Oklahoma. Meanwhile, Washington Times has this. Supreme Court justice to students on high taxes. At a certain point, perhaps you should revolt. Supreme Court advocating revolt. I don't know. I'll put a link to this interesting article. Meanwhile, IRS doesn't have to worry about taxes. IRS awards bonuses to 1,100 people who owe back taxes. 1,100 employees, I believe, who owe back taxes to the IRS. They get a bonus. Help pay for those back taxes, I guess. What kind of crooked nonsense is this? From We Are Change, Italy Prime Minister cuts taxes for 10 million low earners. Right on. Put a link to this, April 20. Zero Hedge has this. Furious Russia downgraded to just above junk by S&P. Put a link to it. A lot of stuff going on in the financial world when it comes to Ukraine and Russia and that whole thing. Got a couple more dead bankers. Check this out. 52-year-old French banker jumps to her death in Paris after questioning her superiors. She jumps to her death. Very suspicious. Meanwhile, I got another one from the Mail Online. Horror as banker, his wife, and 9-year-old nephew are assassinated in drive-by shooting outside their home in Belgium. This came out on April 21st. More dead bankers. Go figure. Put a link to it. Over to New World Order and Police State news. Sad to say, a ton of it this week. White House counterterrorism chief says confrontational children could be terrorists. Put a link to it. Yeah, it has nothing to do with all of the big pharma meds they're on at all. InfoWars has this. Police recruitment training video shows cops in military-style uniforms. Not sure. Somewhere in the United States. Put a link to that. More of the same. Militarization of the police departments. KSPR local ABC 33 has this. Elderly man says police beat him. Pull it up and take a look at the pictures of that. Again, somewhere local media out of the United States. Doesn't really matter where. It's happening all over the place all the time. From Police State USA, man calls to report burglary. Deputy arrives and shoots his dog in the head. This came out April 22nd. Police beat up entire wedding party. Ruined pro baseball player's career. This came out April 19. Another one from Police State USA. Haven't looked into that. I'll put a link to it. Colorado eminent domain case settled. Property owners lose land. Make no mistake, Cliven Bundy is just one case out of many. From the Blaze, we got dissent in Supreme Court ruling to allow searches based on anonymous tips. The police can now search you based on anonymous tips. Oregon police claim authority to pull you over for daydreaming. Put a link to this. Come out April 21st. It never stops. U.S. Intel employees face new consequences for speaking to the media. Well, yeah, after Edward Snowden, you say anything, you're going to be taken care of. From the Washington Post, probe says DHS watchdog cozy with officials, altered reports as he sought top job. So the DHS top guy is fraudulent. What else is new? Special needs child arrested on 2 felony charges. This come out April 22nd. What? High school senior kicked out of prom for wearing pants. I guess a girl was wearing pants and where she was supposed to be wearing a dress. These day and age, I mean, they can tell you how to dress. Put a link to it. Biometric identification that goes beyond fingerprints. This from End Time Headlines. They got a picture of an eyeball. Check that out. No doubt we are on our way to the RFID microchip. Will you take the chip? A lot of people will. FCC, a shift in internet traffic backs fast lanes for web traffic. Be advised the internet bandwidth will sooner or later dry up as the big multimedia corporations continue to push for their stuff to be number one. YouTube will be pushed to the back. We all know that's coming though sooner or later. From Before It's News, self-proclaimed vlog-loving cop in Missouri shamelessly cyberbullies YouTuber using police resources. Be advised, this come out April 9. You really want to take a look at that, especially if you're somebody that puts out videos. And I actually skipped one. This is going to be a bit out of order, but I'll put the links. Shoppers ditch wallets for hand scanners. That'll be after the previous, and it'll all be in order down in the blog spot. I'm getting lost here. So many stories, I get tangled up. Doe NYPD Twitter campaign backfires. NYPD asks people to tweet stuff about the police department. People end up tweeting a bunch of stuff about the police state and the police department. Right on, go everybody. Meanwhile, in China, got to throw a shout out to China. Violent government thugs beaten to death by angry crowds after they killed a man, documenting their brutality. Go China. I'm all for it. I stand united with anybody in the fight against tyranny. Check out the pictures that they got here. Some pretty graphic pictures. Over to World War III news. Everybody should be alarmed, because we're not talking about Syria and Iran and North Korea and those guys talking crap as they always did. Now we got the mainstream propaganda putting this out. Russia wants to start World War III. Russia wants to start World War III. This come out from NBC News. These are very interesting times. From the Washington Times, Kerry draws red line on Ukraine, says world will make Russia pay for their aggressions. Kerry's drawing a red line now, huh? Meanwhile, exclusive, Putin halts all talks with White House. Put a link to this from the Daily Beast. From InfoWars, U.S. top diplomat, Russia has betrayed the New World Order. Really? Put a link to that. What do they mean, New World Order? RAF jet chases Russian planes away from the UK. I hear this has happened more than once here in the past days. Put a link to this from Sky News. Russian spy planes over the U.S.? Question mark? I don't know. This from Yahoo News. What's up with that? I also heard something about their doomsday planes being in the air. From Stars and Stripes, Russians inspect Air Force nuclear launch facilities in Montana. Russians inspect Air Force nuclear launch facilities in Montana. How can this be when we're in such a conflict with Russia at the moment? I don't know. I'll put a link to it. Very interesting. Makes me think of Jericho Blackjack. You? Fox Politics has this. Obama administration indications chemical weapons have been used again in Syria. What about that red line, Mr. President? You going to run your mouth again? We'll see. U.S. troops arrive in Poland for exercises across Eastern Europe amid Ukraine crisis. This come out April 23rd. Just a ton of news. I'm getting tangled up. In fact, my computer won't load all the links fast enough. Video shows bold outdoor Al-Qaeda meeting. And guys, a lot of you guys heard about this. April 16, Al-Qaeda had a meeting out in the open, supposedly. I think you mean Al-Qaeda. From Al Jazeera, Al-Qaeda slaughters on Syria's killing fields. Heartbreaking story here. People getting plowed down left and right. Did we not arm these people? Did the United States not arm these people? Al-Qaeda fighters die in Yemen drone strike. U.S. is killing more people with drone strikes. Meanwhile, Washington Times, how Obama arms Al-Qaeda. This came out September 20, 2013. Old article, but take note since Al-Qaeda is plowing people down in Syria. From the Mail Online, Benghazi attack could have been prevented if U.S. hadn't switched sides on the war on terror and allowed $500 million of weapons to reach Al-Qaeda militants. I'll put a link to it. The story came out on 23rd of April. Arm them and blow them up. Arm them and blow them up. What the hell are we really doing? From the Washington Times, Special Forces suicide rates hit record levels. Casualties of hard combat. Heartbreaking story. But, don't worry about that because they come out with this. This is absolutely latest trick for illegal immigrants. Granting amnesty in return for military service. You want amnesty? Serve in the United States military. Over to Earth Changes in 2012 news now, and I apologize once again this week for being flustered and tongue-tied. Just the amount of madness coming out is just a little bit overwhelming. Be advised, central U.S. may be in store for a 3-day tornado outbreak. This is ongoing. If you're in the central U.S., be advised of the weather this weekend. Desperate for water, Wichita Falls tries to make rain. This from WFAA8 ABC Local. Several times this week, I've heard it from someone in the UN, someone from NASA, Google chemtrails. Several times this week, people have addressed this. Chemtards unite. I truly hope we were all crazy for seeing things sprayed in the sky. From HuffPost, the Great Lakes are still almost half frozen, and it could have effect on the environment for years. Not quite sure what's up with that. Put a link to that. Abrupt lurch in Wyoming, landslide splits house in two. Check a look at the pictures they got there. Reminds me of the movie 2012 where they had that crack in the ground, earth crust displacement, I think they call it. I'll put a link to it. Be advised from Hawaii News Now. City-size iceberg breaks off of Antarctica. City-size iceberg breaks off of Antarctica. Put a link to it. Sandstorm hits northwest China. Check at the pictures they got there. Wow. We just had the blood red moons. Now they've got blood red China. Crazy. Experts downplay volcanic threat, warn of more quakes. This come out April 18. Put a link to this. Meanwhile, NBC News runs this piece. Spike in earthquakes, question mark, an illusion. An illusion raises new questions. Illusion? Don't believe your lying eyes. 7.8 quake shakes Papua New Guinea. Put a link to this. I don't think there was a tsunami generated there. Had a 6.6 off British Columbia coast. I think that had a small tsunami. I think I've seen a couple buoys going off. Nothing big come out of that, though. Let the links load up here. No tsunami expected after 6.6 near Papua New Guinea. I think this was a different quake than the first one I gave you. Put a link to that from Hawaii News Now. Wisconsin residents blame fracking for boom. Put a link to it. More fracking going on. Whole lot of shaking, a lot of booms. And deja vu over Russia. Give me 1 second here. Bright fireball explodes over Russia. This come out April 21st, 2014. It has happened again, although I don't think it had quite the damage that the first one did. Powerful asteroid strikes Earth with surprising frequency. Video. This from space.com, come out April 22nd. Put a link to it. Be advised, there's also a number of near-Earth asteroids, so you want to check space.com for that information. Speaking of space.com, I got a link from them here. X-Flare Radio Blackout CME. This was on April 25th. Small X-Flare come off the sun. Meanwhile, another one from space.com. Solar eclipse will transform sun into ring of fire next week. This come out April 23rd. Be advised, ring of fire coming our way. America's power grid. Speaking of the sun, America's power grid at the limit. The road to electrical blackouts. This come out from the Daily Caller on the 23rd. Put a link to that. I got one more. Experts say civilians are not ready for EMP-caused blackout. EMP-caused blackout. Interesting wording. I'll put a link to it. Over to strange and bizarre news. Got some strange stuff this week. Teen suspended for asking Miss America to prom. Why on earth could you get suspended for that? He's just being a little young person. I don't know. I'll put a link to it. See the hilariously epic response after prosecutors kept requesting a statement from a police dog. You got to pull this up and check this out. You'll check this out. Statement from PC Peach. I chase him, I bite him, bad man, he tasty, good boy, and he signs it with a paw print. That's awesome. Meanwhile, be advised, we got doom in St. Louis. Ice cream truck turf war breaks out on Easter. Ice cream trucks competing for customers, apparently not happy with each other. And man seeks to hide murder tattoo he has along his throat before murder trial. Are you stupid? I'll put a link to it. Pull it up. Check out his picture. He doesn't look guilty at all. Over 100,000 people found living for decades inside horrifying caged city. What the hell's up with this? Pull up the pictures and check that out. Man, humanity, what is your problem? Got one more in the strange bin. Iceland girl who has been frozen for 500 years. Take a look at that. That's very interesting. Put a link to it. For all of the news, please check out my favorite videos. I'll put a link to that. Thank you to everybody who puts up content. I have favorited tons of videos in the past week. At least bring it up and scan over the titles, see if there's anything you might have missed. Got a couple shout-outs this week. Shout out to Georgia. Georgia passes guns everywhere bill. This came out on April 23rd. It's exactly what it sounds like. Guns everywhere in Georgia. Right on. Shout out to my friend TheShowmebby. CBS Dallas-Fort Worth has this. Council weapons ban passes unanimously. While that may be bad news, not without a word from TheShowmebby. You really want to watch the video report. You can see him in the background. Right on, Matt. You rock, man. Shout out to another one of my friends in Texas, Lone Star 1776. Driving white birther, cowardly leaders causing our deaths. Great 7-minute rant by Rudy. Rudy has some of the best rants on YouTube ever, in my opinion. Check his video out. Shout out to Montagraph. Got an article here from the Intel Hub. YouTuber says 5 people could take down top 1,000 channels in a week by falsely flagging them. The Montagraph channel was taken down this past week by false DMCA. It has since been put back up. And, you know, this false DMCA thing on YouTube, let me just say, I've had it happen to me several times in my years on YouTube. As so long as you own your content and file the counterclaim, you will get your videos back, you will get your channel back. It's a minor inconvenience. And those people who wish to engage in this sort of stuff, you know, karma's a bitch, and it will come back to bite you later on. Goes around, comes around. Anyway, check out Monty's video on this article here to the CEO of YouTube. Good stuff. I'll also put a link to Monograph's backup channel. I'm your ghost. If you're a subscriber of Monograph, you want to subscribe his backup channel just in case anything happens in the future. I will put a link to it. That's all I got this week, guys. If you like the report, please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you think it's the worst of YouTube, you never want to see it again, just please rate. I really appreciate it. It helps me move around. You can also follow me on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter for new show alerts, breaking news alerts, new upload alerts. Those links are at the bottom always. Another week of solid madness. What's to come with this whole Russia going to start World War III? What are your thoughts on that and everything else going on? Madness. Pure madness. Till the next one, you guys take care, stay safe. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. I will see you on the next one.